So I think I've bought one example of every case vault pattern since 2019. So that's what, 4 years now? I don't currently have a Pocket Hunter because I gave that one away because I decided it wasn't for me. And now I kind of wish I wouldn't have, but what's done is done. Um, the Copperhead and the Barlow were my favorite so far. Um, Last year's, the like tiny little swell center knife, Coke bottle, whatever you want to call it. I was disappointed with the example of the one that I got. It was awful, but that didn't stop me from ordering one of this year's Vault Pattern knives. That being said, this year's Volt Pattern knife is extremely tiny. It's about the size of my index finger. It's smaller than my index finger, in fact. Um, but this is the what I call this? The Small Congress. So this is the Small Congress. They brought this out of the vault for 2023, and it's an interesting knife for them to bring out of the vault. I have to imagine this is probably a pretty popular knife with case collectors. This one's a two blade. They did it in a four blade, but not in carbon steel, and I like carbon steel, so I wanted the carbon steel one, which they only offer in a two blade currently. That being said, I may order a four blade one in stainless at some point, just because it'd be kind of cool to have a four blade case tiny Congress like this. Um, but this is a two blade, so it's more of like a half Congress, really. But it is in carbon steel. It's got these red jig bone, um, so it's like the red jig bone carbon steel knives the case has been making for the past few years now. And this is a extremely tiny knife. The main blade is this very tiny sheepsfoot blade here. Um, or somebody's going to tell me this is a ram's foot because it gets bigger towards the edge. It's a sheepsfoot blade, man. It's a modified sheepsfoot blade, um, or something like that. So you can argue with me, but it's a sheepsfoot blade. But this is the main blade. The main blade is extremely tiny. I don't know where my ruler is. I was looking for it. I cannot find it. But just put this into perspective. Let me grab my Baron Son's knife here. So this is the Baron Son secondary pen blade, and this is the main blade on this case mini Congress here. So it is smaller than the secondary blade on my Baron Son Barlow. It's an extremely tiny little knife. Very non-offensive. If you were to carry this in like a city or something, I don't think anybody would have a problem with it. It does have half stops, which is kind of cool. The action on it's not amazing, but it's not horrible either. It is a little knife, so I don't expect it to have like amazing action or anything. I would put this right in with like the realm of like the case peanut when it comes to like you know the usefulness. You could use this for just about anything really, but I think most people usually want a bigger knife. I know I do. But there are certain circumstances where carrying a knife like this might be more appropriate. Like maybe you're in a big city or something, or maybe you're going somewhere where pulling out a larger knife might be frowned upon. Like maybe you're going out to like a fancy dinner or something, and you're afraid you might have to use your pocket knife for something. And you don't want to pull out a I don't know, a Barlow or something because it might be seen as threatening. Whereas if you pull this out, it's just like, oh, that's just a little tiny thing. So nobody's super worried about it or whatever. Um, that being said, it's a little small for me. But this knife is honestly put together really well. I'm really hoping Case is starting to step up their game here because the last few that I've gotten from them have been good knives. So I'm really hoping that they're starting to check their quality control more, hopefully. But this knife is well put together, so I'm happy for that because I like to have a good example of the Vault knife when I have one. So yeah, interesting little knife. A little small for me. I may get a four blade one at some point, just depending on if they release one in like a cover material that I love, or if they do one with carbon steel, I may pick up one. But we are halfway through 2023 and they haven't done that yet, so I'm not gonna exactly hold my breath for that. But we'll see what happens. Um, I don't really think there's any gaps in the back here. My light is too bright, but yeah. doesn't really seem like there's any gaps or anything. It's put together pretty well. So I'll give Case an A+ on this one. They did a good job on this particular knife. Hopefully, other people are having similar experiences with these knives because Case, especially with the Volt pattern knives, I feel like should be spending extra care more than even they spend on like. I believe that a Volt pattern knife should always be put together excellently, because you're billing it as like this special once a year thing, or not like once a year, but special like yearly thing. Like people look forward to the Case Vault pattern and everything. So it's one of those things that I feel like Case should spend even more time on than they spend on like even just their normal knives, which they already don't spend enough time on. But I would really love it if Case would get all their knives to the point where I'm not scared to open the knife and see what it looks like. But this one is excellent, so I'm happy about that. Um, so yeah, I've got at least one good example of the 2023 Case Volt pattern. This small Congress, which is too small for me, but a good knife to have in the collection for reference or whatever. Um, but yeah, don't know if I'll ever carry it or anything, but it'll be good to have for reference for Case's Volt patterns in the future. But anyway, it's going to be it for this video on this Case Small Congress. Um, and I will see you guys in the next one, and I hope you have a good day.